All right, can y'all see on the overhead? If you need to get closer, definitely now's the time to be able to do it. Yeah, especially y'all that are far away. The first thing you're going to do is naturally download all of your pictures. Now I just took a couple of pictures to work from, not that one. So there's a circle, I've got half circle and a U, I've got a square shape, and I got a little triangle and a S shape. Yours should be better quality pictures. I did these really, really quick. I'm going to jump into Illustrator, and I'm just going to make a new blank document. It really doesn't matter the size of it at this point because we're going to be using these as kind of a conduit to doing your image trace. The first thing we need to do is to place each of your images into Illustrator. The quickest way to do this is simply to drag it on and then drop it. So I just opened up the file, drag it onto here, and now you can see it's placed inside of it. Since it has an X going through it, it is linking to that file, but that's okay. I'm not going to be moving it around too much. I will scale this down just to make it a little easier to move around and see. Now the part that I'm most interested in is this right here. I really don't care anything else about what's around here. And I want to be able to vectorize it. In other words, turn it from the pixels into the actual points that we have. I could use my pen tool, go in there and redraw it. It would take forever. And I would also lose some of the nice little details of the frayed edges and even some of the texture maybe on the inside of it. So to quickly vectorize it, we can use a method called image tracing. When I select my image, I clicked on it. At the very top, one of the options is to image trace. And if you've never used this before, you can click on it. Since my image is nice and large, it's going to give me this warning saying, hey, this may take some time to do, but we're going to proceed anyway. Say OK. Give it a couple of seconds, and it's going to look for the lights and the dark areas. And actually now I can zoom in as much as I want, and I got a nice vector line that I'm working with. But I'm not done yet. There's more options to be had. With it still selected, if you look back up at the top, I can open up my options menu right here. When I click on that, now I've got this extra palette. This palette is very, very important to how this image looks. By default, it's just going to give you a 50-50, what's dark and what's light will turn black or white. You can adjust more or less by adjusting your threshold. So if I bring my threshold down, watch how this will change. Not much of a change. Let's go all the way down to 11. Give it a second. Ooh, didn't pick up on any of it. Let's bring it back up to maybe more. Ah, hey, see now I'm getting a little bit more distortion. I'm actually getting darker with this image. So let's see if I can find a good happy medium. Hey, that's kind of a cool little shape. Still a circle. I don't know, I kind of like that. I like that little jagged edge that's there. I like the little piece that's in there. Some other options, if you opened up Advanced, you can also see how many paths you have. You can make it more or less detailed this way. You can add or remove noise. All of these are different things. You don't necessarily have to use them, but those can give you a little more control over how your image looks. Also, just so you know, there's different presets. You don't have to be stuck with black and white. There are color options, so it'll look for, instead of lights and darks, just different kinds of colors depending on this. You can turn it into line art. It's a great quick way of recreating something, especially if you don't care too much about the details of what you're doing. I wouldn't recreate a logo using this because you're going to lose some important details about that logo. But if you're trying to vectorize a picture, this is one way of doing it. The next thing I need to do, let's say I'm satisfied with this. I need to isolate just this white area. I can close this out. You can keep it open if you want. I still have it selected. At the very top, you're going to click on the word expand. Once it's expanded, when I zoom in, you can see now I have all of my, let's see if I can get it to show, all of my actual anchor points along here as well. You can see the individual points, and I can move it around and I can resize it at will. If I don't click expand, I won't be able to make the changes that I'm doing. So definitely the first thing you should do once you're happy with it, I'll undo what I did. Click on expand, and that will turn it into a regular object. Next, I need to get just this white area. Now, if you're on Team Chord, you're working with a white background in a dark area. So yours, you're actually going to be selecting the, quote, darkness of the chords that you photographed. Team Tape, you guys are looking for the light area. To get rid of it, I can just use my direct selection tool, white arrow. With this one, I can click on just the black area and delete it away. Now, if I do that, what's the problem with that? You can't see it. Don't know where everything's at. So if you need to, maybe you can click on the white area, turn it a color that you can at least see and differentiate from. So now I can at least see the black area to work from. There is a white area of the board on that side. And so now I've got one shape that I can work with. And if I need to, I can just move it off to the side, and I'm going to start collecting the other shapes. Let me show you a quicker method of doing this. So that's kind of the basics of it. Let's do one of these. Again, I just drag it onto my Illustrator document. I will scale it down. I've got it selected, do image trace, say OK if it prompts you. Two different areas. Let's open up my options. Again, this one right here. Play around with your threshold. Maybe I want to bring in some texture. Let's do it enough till I start to see it breaking down. Almost there. Let's go all the way. Hey, there we go. So now I've got a little shape that looks like that. Once I got something that I like, click on expand. Here's a way you can work a little bit faster. If I use my white arrow, direct selection tool, I'm going to click on just the white area, right? Got it filled. I know it's just the white because check out my fill color in my swatches. What I'd like to do is to select all of the white areas. You can do this by going up to select the same, in this case, fill color. In this case, it would be white. Now check out what I got. Notice that both of them, even the little small bits that I may have missed just by clicking on it, are lit up. Let's turn it a color that I know I can't get rid of. So now it's turned red. I can do the same thing for black. Choose the black area, select the same fill color. Since I want to erase everything away, just hit delete. We're good to go. Now I'm done. Move on to the next one. They are grouped, and you can ungroup them, Shift-Command-G, and group them together. But what I'm looking for is to create a collection of a bunch of different shapes to work with. Once you do have them, you can change them back to black or any color that you're working with. Pretty cool? Next, once I've vectorized all my different shapes and I've got my shapes to work from, then you download your template and start working on each individual letter. Take it one letter at a time. And you'll notice some of these letters kind of have the same strokes to them. You've got straight strokes, you've got curved strokes, straight strokes, thicker, thinner strokes. There's another curve. And so you kind of get an idea of what shapes may be reused over and over again. Feel free to reuse common shapes. Don't think you have to make a new thing for each one. If it's something that's repeatable, save yourself some time and repeat each one. But get the overall looking idea of the shape. Let's say I wanted to start making the Aleph. So I'll pull this up. I don't have a lot of straight lines I can work with. I'm going to copy these over. Copy it from here, choose my next document, paste it in. I'm going to keep these off on this side. As a matter of fact, if I wanted to open up my layers, maybe I would work in a different layer because all of this important information is on layer 1. So I can make a new one. we'll let this be my working layer. Let's cut those away. There. Now I can't accidentally click on that and delete it. I'm going to use just the little U shape. See how far I can get with a left. Since we're working in vectors, I can zoom in as much as possible. I can scale these things. I can make multiple copies of it. How can I quickly make a copy of something?
Hold on the Option key.
Option. When you click and drag, remember that quickly copies it away. Hey, if I need to erase away something, because I need some straight lines to work with from here, you do have an eraser tool. So there's my eraser. Works kind of like a brush, and so anything that I have selected, I can just erase away that particular area. And now I've got a straight line that I can work with. If I need to make it longer, of course I can distort it. I can rotate it. So I'm going to let this be my spine. Let's see, grab my eraser tool again. Always remember to make a copy of what you have. You don't want to lose your original. Need two little parts for the extra bits up there. Maybe shape them into things I can work with. Scale it in, bring this down. Scale it in, make it proportional. I'm paying attention to what it looks like. If I wanted to use more modern font, obviously that wouldn't be down there. Let's do it one more time. Here's another thing that you can do as far as doing a distortion. Let's say I wanted this edge to be much bigger than this one. I wanted to broaden this out. One of the distortion tools that you have, they're all found over here. For instance, here's my rotate tool. It's simply committed to rotating. One of them is called a reshape or, nope, excuse me. Yes, this one. I had to relearn it. This is your distortion tool. With it selected, I can click on it, and I should be able to... It's changed. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's a little different.
I think there's a button on that little pop-up that came up.
There it is. There it is. Yes, yes, yes. This will allow you to distort certain areas of it. So rather than just the height and the width of it, I can click here, and I should be able to do things like this. And so now that this side is broader or more narrow than the other side. That's what I'm looking for. So even with this one image, this one U shape, you can see how I've got a variety of different shapes to work from. Maybe for this one definitely needs a little curvature to it, so I would want to maybe choose or find something that's a little more curved. But you get the idea that I'm going for this. I'm recreating the essence of each one of these characters, and I'm using all the different shapes that you created. You can feel free to blend multiple shapes. Don't think that you have to use the same shape for each one that's here. Play around with color. They don't all have to be in black and white. Play around with transparency. If I took each one of these and I dropped their transparency down to like 80%, you'll start to see they have a little bit more dynamic interaction with one another. You can see how the little bits, I can see overlapping between one. This is what it makes it look really, really handmade, is when you have little things like this. You can't do that in a normal font. A font has to be black and white. But if you make your own font, especially from different things, and you overlap them, different transparency, those kinds of things tend to show through. Pretty cool. Any questions on this? If you need to flip something or reflect it in some way, when you select an object, let's say I like this little bit, I want this on top, so I want to flip it along its horizontal axis. Select under Object, transform. One of them is your reflection. It will ask you what kind of reflection you want to do. We want to go across the horizontal. And so that's one way you can flip and rotate, those kinds of things, if you didn't remember how to do that. Cool? This is it. This is the easy part of it. For the rest of the time today, what I want you to do, download your images that you have. The first thing you should do is to vectorize each of them. Bring them in, do image trace, and then once you're done with that, open up your template and start building out each of the letters and characters that you have. All right, the rest of the time is yours.